Hello, everybody. Welcome into GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, April 9th. We have a lot to get into today. Of course, lots of basketball. Luka Doncic back in Dallas for the first time since being traded. His second matchup against those Dallas Mavericks. We'll talk about that as well as him getting ejected last night on a technical that was later rescinded in a game where they lost to the Thunder. Then we'll talk about the Knicks a little bit. The New York Knicks have not beaten a quality team all season long. How is that going to affect them in the playoffs? Our NBA power rankings after that, and then get into a whole bunch of baseball topics. But before we talk about any of that, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw it in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, April 9th. But like I was saying, we are going to get a little bit here into what's going on with the Lakers, specifically Luka. And we're going to start with last night's game before we get into his game versus Dallas today. Last night was the second of two in a row versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Lakers went out there and they absolutely dominated them the first time out. Didn't quite go that way this time. The Thunder were ready for them. They played a much tighter game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had a much better game in this one, despite him still having a pretty solid game in the previous one. The Lakers also did not tie a record for three-pointers made like they did the first time out. But the big story coming out of this game is Luka getting ejected. After making a tough shot in the lane, he, who had already been teed up earlier on in the game, gets another technical foul. 2 technical fouls gets you ejected from a game. He got his second technical for yelling at a fan after making that tough basket. Now, the NBA later did go on to rescind this technical, and that just rubbed a lot of people, including myself, the wrong way, right? You're taking a look at a game that was close, a game that just got a little bit out of hand after Luka went away for nothing, really. This is something that, for the NBA's credit, they did get figured out, but unfortunately didn't figure it out in time for this game. This is something that can't happen in the playoffs. With it right around the corner, these games mean so much to the Lakers, right? The Lakers are still in that race for the 3 to 8 seed right now. We don't know how it's going to go. They're just one game up on teams in the 4 to 7 seed and 2 games up on that 8 seed. With 3 games to go now, including one tonight, they needed every single one of those games to get the seeding that they want to get. This one stings. This one hurts. We'll see how it affects the Lakers going forward, but they have a massive game tonight. A game that is just about to tip off in Dallas as Luka Doncic returns. We've already seen some stuff with the video boards where when he had his video to come in, he was tearing up a little bit. This is something that his teammates and himself expected of him. They expected him to go out and get this kind of overwhelming support back in Dallas. Of course, probably not to the level that it was right there. He doesn't like the front office. I don't think that is much of a secret. The front office and him do not get along, especially after Nico Harrison went out and traded him away for just about nothing. Currently a tie game as we start this with right at the end of the first, 24-24. Luka Doncic so far has 14 points in the first quarter. He is putting on a show, 5 of 9 from the field, 3 of 5 overall. This is going to be one of those games that, again, is not just important for Luka Doncic and the Lakers wanting to show out for their teammate, but it's also super important for seeding. Again, we brought up the fact that the Lakers are still in that race for the number 3 overall seed in the West. The Mavericks also are in a bit of a race. They currently hold that 10 seed when it comes to the playoffs. They're only 3 games up on the Sun, so they need one more win to clinch a play-in spot. And when we take a look at where they sit right now where they sit right now, what their schedule looks like. If they can't win this one against the Lakers, which I'm not expecting them to do, then they have the Raptors coming up after that. That's a winnable game, but the way this team is playing, you can't count anything. And then they finish off against the Grizzlies in a game that means a lot more to the Grizzlies than it does to the Mavs. So this is one where their magic number is 1, right? They either need a win or they need a loss by the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns loss, honestly, is probably the more likely thing, but still, this is something that when we talk about these teams, when we talk about where they sit at right now in the standings, this game means more than just Luka's revenge. And that is something that's a driving force to this one. That's the big narrative heading into this. But what these Lakers need right now is a big win. And this obviously is a game that's going to mean a little bit more than a playoff seeding to them because of Luka Doncic. But it is something to keep an eye on, how they're going to play, how dominant they're going to be, and what Luka's stat line finishes like, because he is on pace for a monster game. A game right now, if you just take a look at his points, 14 points through the first quarter, he is on pace for a 56-point game right now, which would be insane. We'll just have to keep an eye on that. Luka's revenge tonight. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention over to the Big Apple. Across the country, the New York Knicks are having a solid season, but they've really struggled against the top-tier opponents in the East and the West. We'll talk about what a playoff run might look like for the Knicks as the playoffs are right around the corner for the 3 seed in the East. We'll be right back here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, April 9th, if you are just tuning in. We just finished going over everything we need to know about Luka's return to Dallas. In this segment, we turn our attention over to the Knicks. The Knicks are having some struggles of their own. Despite an overall solid season from them, battling through injuries, there is one glaring weakness with this team that needs to be figured out by the time they get to the playoffs, and I don't know when that's going to happen. We'll get to that in a second, but before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net, or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, April 9th. But like I was saying, we are going to get a little bit here into the New York Knicks. What does a New York Knicks playoff run look like? They have been solid all season long, right? They've clinched basically that number 3 seed in the East, but the two teams ahead of them, they've played 6 times total. They're 0-6 against these top teams. The Knicks have cleaned up against the rest of the NBA, honestly. This is a Knicks team that has been very good outside of, again, these top teams, not just the Thunder and not just the Cavs and the Celtics, but the Thunder as well. They lost all of those games too. They have lost all of these games all season to these top of the conference teams. They struggled against the Nuggets. They struggled against the Rockets. They struggled against the Lakers. They cannot, for some reason, beat these teams that are that have at least 50 wins this season. And they have been amazing outside of that, right? 0-6 against the two teams above them. But other than that, 50-20 outside of these other teams. This is a Knicks team that most likely cleans up when we're talking about a first-round series versus a team like the Pistons. But the Pistons are scrappy. The Pistons versus the Knicks this year, that's going to be a really tight series, and I think there's a real chance that the Knicks lose this one. The Knicks got Jalen Brunson back for this one. They were fully healthy against the Celtics, and yet they couldn't get anything done. When it came down to it, the Celtics just took care of business against this Knicks team like they were supposed to, and this is a Celtics team that has been red hot. Celtics win by 2 in overtime last time out, and what was a really good game. But the ceiling for this team just isn't as high as you want it to be heading into the season. They obviously were aggressive in the offseason. They made big trades for Cat and for Mikal Bridges, right? They bring in these guys to help shore up that starting lineup, and then nothing changes. This team is in the same spot it was at the end of last season because they can't get over the hump of beating these really good teams. And this is something that's, of course, going to rear its head again when we get to playoff times. With the playoffs right around the corner, the Knicks desperately need to figure this out. First round, they're going to be going up against the Pistons. Now, the Pistons in the playoffs on its own is kind of crazy, but once you get past that fact, this is a Pistons team that has played really tough against the Knicks all season, right? This is a Pistons team that has the physicality to go up against this Knicks. It's got the stars to go up against Jalen Brunson and Cade Cunningham. This is not going to be an easy matchup, but even past that, they go out and they win they win that first round series versus the Pistons. Then they have to go up against the Celtics, and we've seen them not be able to win these games against the top 2 seeds. There feels like a hard ceiling for this Knicks season in the second round, and it's something that you don't want to hear as a New York Knicks fan. It's something that you don't want to think about as a New York Knicks fan, but you have to look at what's going on this season, and you have to look at why it might be. Is it the players? I don't think it's the players. I don't know if it's the coach either, but this is a really solid team that they've put together up in New York, right? Either way that you slice it, this is a team up in New York that has a superstar in Jalen Brunson. It has a really solid group of connecting pieces in Cat, in OG Anunoby, who they traded for last season, in Mikal Bridges, who they brought in this offseason, in Josh Hart, who's played really good this year. Mitchell Robinson is not the greatest center, but he's a solid defensive center down there that you can rely on. This is a Knicks team that needs a kick in the butt. This is a Knicks team that needs to find a way to play against these really solid teams in the NBA, something that they just have not been able to do all season long. And because of that, a playoff run for the Knicks just doesn't feel all that promising. And again, I'm not even sure they make it out of the first round. But we'll save our playoff previews for next week. Season ends on Sunday. There's still a lot of really important basketball to play, especially in the Western Conference. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we turn our attention to the NBA Power Rankings, as we do each and every single Wednesday. 1 through 30 coming up for you next, here on GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Welcome back to GSMC's Down by Contact Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is Wednesday, April 9th. If you were just tuning in, we just finished going over the Knicks and the Lakers. The Knicks, what their ceiling looks like after once again losing a key game to a top-tier opponent. Not sure how high that ceiling is. In this segment, we of course get our NBA power rankings, as we do each and every single Wednesday. Today, there's a new leader in the clubhouse for Cooper Flagg. There's some changes in the top 10. We'll talk about all of that coming up in just a second. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Or if you're on YouTube, you can use that super chat feature. If you do either of those two things, a message should pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. If you do have a burning question about sports, anything at all that you would like to ask, go ahead and throw that in the comments. Throw it in the chat. I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. I appreciate everybody so much for sticking around, talking some sports with me here on a beautiful Wednesday, April 9th. But like I was saying, we are going to start off our show. We're going to start off our power rankings here, as we always do, at number 30. Number 30, again, we've got a new leader in the clubhouse for the Tank for Cooper Flagg sweepstakes. The Utah Jazz stand alone as the only team with less than 17 wins in the NBA. 16 wins for the Utah Jazz as they are trying to get a prize and continue to build a lineup that could potentially be solid in the NBA. Cooper Flagg, of course, is going to be the prize that everybody wants in a pretty good draft class. Cooper Flagg still stands heads and shoulders above everybody else, and the Jazz, the Wizards, the Hornets, the Nets, the Sixers, all of these teams are fighting desperately to get the prize of Cooper Flagg. Next up, at number 29, we have the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards have been scrappy. They pushed the Pacers to a little bit of